The small 12.0.7 updates every player will notice immediately. We got 5 smaller quality of life improvements. Sometimes these things are like small improvements, but they're actually amazing, like things we've been asking for a long time. So 12.0.7, less than a month away at this point. Let's check out some of the smaller improvements coming in this patch.
How guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and while patch 12.07 might look one of the smaller updates for Midnight's roadmap, it is actually quietly delivering some of the most massive quality of life improvements that we've seen throughout the expansion.
Massive.
Instead of forcing players through another grueling endgame grind, Blizzard is actually using this patch update to heavily focus on player conveniences and finding new ways to respect your time. We're getting an absolute overhaul for the entire expansion leveling process that drastically speeds up the game for solo players, paired together with things such as fast-tracked gear grinds that are really bypassed.
Yeah, no surprise, more solo player buffs. I mean, at this point, WoW has become an RPG for a lot of people. Solo playing WoW and getting geared. It used to be that if you were going to solo play this game, there was no chance you were getting gear. And now it's basically like, no, you can gear out as much as a heroic raider at this point, just playing this game solo if you use the right strats.
Gearing walls entirely.
I don't hate
flexible
it. I think it's a good thing
for high-end
for
tier content, solo player mythic progression, as well as a free account-wide power system that lowers the difficulty floor for just about everybody. So for today's video, I really just want to highlight and spotlight some of the biggest conveniences as part of the patch 12.07, which is right now available over for testing over in the PTR, but based on some of the scheduling and some of the events over in the PTR, this update may be coming out a lot sooner than anybody's expected. As always, if you guys want to keep up with regular updates regarding Midnight as an expansion or for any future updates such as patch 12.07, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe. But otherwise, let's dive right in.
He said sooner than anyone expected. I'm still thinking June 16th is when this thing's going to hit. I think based on the endgame calendar, we looked at this stuff when the Turbulent Timeways event begins and everything. June 16th seems to be when this patch is going to hit.
Now, one of the catch-ups / conveniences that I don't think a lot of players are talking about is actually the fact that they buffed up the experience for some of the most basic Midnight content. You know how when you're leveling a new character in Midnight so far, like, just doing normal quests is fine, but delve questing, time walking, or doing any of the other grindy, weird tactics usually ends up being faster than just doing normal organic content in Midnight. But it looks like patch 12.07 is going to be buffing that organic, mundane content of the expansion to make it worth actually interacting with. And they're looking at very specific core elements, from your dungeon, first-rate XP, which apparently has gotten buffed up. In fact, it is doubled now, a nice bonus, and dungeon XP is really easy to complete, whether you do it with randoms or simply just keep...
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday. Some of this shit is not just getting buffed. There's like 5x. 5 times the XP being given for some of this like delve stuff and prey stuff and everything. So Blizzard just making the whole leveling campaign basically bypassable at this point. You level up to 10 levels away from cap, and then you just blast through it with the current Midnight content. You're done. You can hit level cap in like a freaking day at this point.
With follower dungeons, there is really nothing that stops you from being able to jump into those. Delve quests also. There's a first time delve quest that every delve has, and that generally tends to be quite a lot of XP. Since it scales with your level, a lot of players use like the last 2 levels to just farm up all the delve quests and then turn them in, and that literally knocks out those 2 levels really easily.
Right.
A lot of those quests also scale with war mode, but without war mode scaling, they actually have gotten buffed up as of this patch by 66.6% repeating. An odd number, I know, but it does mean that completing all those
huge
quests
buffs
without warband buff, you're looking at about a 3.64% of a level, more or less, give or take. So it's actually quite a lot of XP that you're going to be able to get out of it. So you can actually just turn those quests a lot earlier.
It is, and when he says that people wait to turn it in, that scaling doesn't happen based on when you do the quest. It happens based on when you turn in the quest. So if you actually do the quest at like level 71, 81, essentially you could hold it until the last 2 or 3 levels before you hit cap, and then you turn it in and you get like crazy amounts of XP because it scales based on your level when you actually turn it in. So a lot of people will hold these quests until the last 2 levels, and then just automatically blast through the last 2 levels without doing anything.
Normal prey quest is another feature that's actually not really... Apparently this does reward you EXP, at least normally it's supposed to, but the amount of EXP it rewards you on live is pitiful. Over on the PTR, it is buffed up by 400%. So just doing a single normal prey, which I am assuming scales with your level, as most content does, is about 30% of a level, essentially. And with how fast you get praise out of the way on a character, you're looking at huge leaps in levels for very little effort. This also includes the weekly quests, such as, let's say, the zonal things. You know, the soiree. You got the abundance, which is part of the Zolaman area. The Void Storm has their Stromarian assault, and then you got the Harandar storyline or quest line or stories that you could do in the zone. All of those have also got buffed up, and at the bare minimum, I tested out Soiree compared to PTR on live, and that got buffed up by up to 650%.
Damn.
Also, you're looking at about 30% of a level for very little effort. These increases overall are massive. This means that just playing a new character in Midnight and getting some weekly content like a single prey, as well as the weekly event on that character, lets you about half a level for like 15 minutes worth of effort at most, which is ludicrous. On top of it, since we'll be able to stack a bunch of other XP buffs during this patch, such as from the Turbulent Timeways event that'll be active, alt leveling as of 1207, outside of doing some of those cheesy mechanics and cheesy grinds, by itself just doing basic content is going to be a total joke. As solo player, we'll be able to level a brand new character in a single evening just by doing some of their natural weekly checklist activities, which I think is going to make old gathering and old farming much easier, especially as of this update.
Nice. Yeah, alt leveling.
Now, I mentioned Turbulent Timeways earlier, and that is one of the nice catch-up quality of life benefits of the patch 1207. Turbulent Timeways are usually a lot of fun. They offer you a massive buff towards both experience gain, but also when it comes to gearing up all of your ults rather quickly. It's a buff that essentially allows you, as you queue for dungeons, stacks up and usually caps out at about 30% bonus experience. So you're looking at very fast leveling for any of your characters, perfect enough in order to start building out your warband full of alts in preparation for Season 2 content. And since time walking dungeons also scale with the level, in some groups, if you're a tank or a healer or have a pre-made, you can just spam run this as much as you want to, and then basically farm up all of those levels relatively quickly.
Right.
Also, those time walking quests that are going to be available every single week, with every week becoming a time walking week. This means that all of your characters are going to be able to get that time walking weekly quest. However, the gear upgrades are actually getting upgraded during Turbulent Timeways. Normally they are of champion track, but this time around they're going to be of hero track. So you look at it, very relatively easy hero track gear that all of your alts can get.
And Turbulent Timeways this time around is lasting 10 weeks. It looks like 10 weeks of Turbulent Timeways. I mean, my God, the amount of freaking people that can level up through this shit. It's going to be crazy.
Just for queuing a couple of dungeons, or even running some of the time walking raids.
Or even gearing out. I mean, hero track gear is good.
So just logging onto an old character to spam a few dungeons can get you caught up and make that character completely playable in preparation for the seasonal content. And without fast, you can get your time walking quests out of the way. If you're running a small army of vaults ahead of Season 2 content, you should be able to get a lot of those characters knocked out relatively quickly. Plus, on top of it, Turbulent Timeways does offer a bunch of other collectibles and mounts for you to collect. So there's more to obtain there besides just XP and gear, but gear and XP is going to be a huge catch-up benefit in general. Another benefit of this update is the fact that Blizzard is making mythic crests farmable as a solo player. Previously, mythic crests were an exclusive currency that was specifically locked out towards endgame progression, specifically for players that are into group content. But with ritual sites getting an update in 1207, they're actually turning up the difficulty, but also turning up the rewards. You'll be able to run, as of patch 1207, whenever that drops, Tier 6 ritual sites, which is one step up from the baseline Tier 5, which was the previous highest difficulty. This does mean that they're adding additional challenges for you to run, but those could be pretty much knocked out in such a way where they don't actually make the content that much harder, though the enemies in these ritual sites will scale with difficulty either way. But because of the higher difficulty, you also get better rewards, more currencies, but also an ability for you to farm mythic crests as a solo player, which is the first time they're adding a way for solo players in particular. Those of you that are into delves or just don't really run group content like Mythic Plus Dungeons or raids that much, you'll be able to farm up mythic crests as much as you want.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, progressing through mythic crests is going to be finally soloable. Not to mention with the new, what do they call them? Ascendant Void Cores. I mean, being able to pump basically heroic track gear into myth track. We've already talked about that. That means you can skip the first 5 levels of myth track leveling. So if you actually have a myth track piece of gear, you can take heroic track gear, pump it up using the Ascendant Void Cores, which would take you up to a 5 of 6 myth track level. Then you can take your myth track gear, pump it up to a 5 of 6 just using gold. And then all you need is the crests to go from 5 to 6, which means you can just solo that shit through here and have a 6 of 6 myth track piece of gear. Because you save so much on the crests by using the Ascendant Void Cores on your heroic gear. It's crazy. Now, of course, you're going to want Ascendant Void Cores for your Myth Track gear too once you get to that cap, because then you can push it even higher. But using it that way, especially if you're not able to farm Myth Track stuff through Mythic Plus and everything, because you're a solo player for the most part, that's a great new strat to really pump up your item level.
Endlessly. Since ritual sites can be spammed as much as you want to, there's no lockout, there's no keys like you have with delves. You can just run them as much as you want to, farming all of your hero track as well as mythic track crests as much as possible. It's going to be a nice opportunity for solo players in particular to get some of the final end game progression out of the way without any breaks or anything to hold you back throughout the patch update.
Yeah, J-Mall, you're saying, yes, you're right. You don't move up a track, but because you pump up the item level, the crest saving system, you know, the system that basically allows you to use gold to upgrade your gear once you've reached a certain item level with that gear already. So if you have like basically shoulders that are sitting there at whatever 280 item level, I'm just using random item level at this point, then any other shoulders you get, you can gear up to 280 by using gold instead of crests. The system works the same way even with the Ascendant Void Cores. Even though it's not taking it up to Myth Track, it's taking it past Myth Track item level to a 5 of 6 Myth Track. The game doesn't recognize that it's not Myth Track, it just sees a high item level sitting in that slot, so it'll allow you to upgrade the Myth Track gear to that item level. If that makes sense. That's what I'm saying. You don't even need as many Myth Track crests anymore. So that basically soloing Myth Track gear to 6 of 6 becomes super easy now with this strat.
Outside of this, patch 12.7 is also adding a new form of mythic raiding called flexible mythic raid scaling. And with a new boss of Rotmire, who actually has a number of powerful items that players are going to want to get if they're trying to push for the rest of the season, but also a bunch of cosmetics and apparently a mount that can also drop from the boss as well. But they also are adding a way for mythic raiders to have some flexibility when it comes to raid rosters, which is quite powerful as a feature. It's something that has been requested by mythic raiders for a very long time now, and only now are they implementing that into the game. Sometimes getting players together, especially in a close-knit guild, can be difficult at times. If, let's say, somebody isn't able to join, then you have 19 players, you can't essentially make any raid progression whatsoever. So a lot of guilds usually go for a bigger roster, but that also creates other issues, such as not being able to give players enough meaningful time for some of the fights, and for some of the gear, as well as some of the great vault management. And that usually becomes a bit of a hassle where you can't really run too little players, so you have to stock up a raid with more players, but then not everybody can actually participate in those encounters. So the flex raiding actually solves a lot of those issues, allowing raids and guilds to run between 15 to 25 players within this raid, and the number of groups will actually scale the mechanics of this raid in particular. So if, let's say, somebody is out of your roster for the evening, it's okay. You can just grab whoever you can and run the raid. Have more people than expected, bring them in.
Yeah,
more bodies,
track
the
flex
barrier.
is nice.
And it is going to scale how the mechanics and some of the abilities are going to function for the boss slightly, but it's meant to be something that's flexible, that's really, really easy to integrate. And if the system is successful, and something a lot of raids and guilds really do enjoy, this may be a system that will actually continue forward, possibly into the next future tiers, which adds even more flexibility for managing raid content.
Yeah, I mean, that's great for mythic raiding, flexing the amount of people that can be brought. Surely it opens up to more guilds that will be able to do this, but if Blizzard ever wants mythic raiding to legitimately be accessible to pugs, which, I mean, it's fine. So I get Mythic is the highest level of content in the game, and maybe it's not supposed to be accessible to everybody. But I mean, shit, it's something that a lot of people I think would like to do. You gotta unlock the unlock. You gotta just have it unlocked for people after the Hall of Fame closes. This thing should not be locked up for people anymore. You should be able to pug this shit, or at least try to form a pug. The content's difficult. I'm not saying pugs are gonna be able to kill this shit easily. But the reason why pugs are hard to make for this shit is because of the lockout. Remove the fucking lockout after Hall of Fame ends. That's what I keep saying, and I'll keep saying it.
Now, another feature that's going to be a nice bit of convenience, but rather passive one, is the Omnium Folio, which is something we did cover on the channel. It's essentially a passive power progression system for patch 12.07, with a fairly easy weekly quest for you to keep up with in order to gain additional powers, customizable abilities that can buff your class in a variety of ways, from several different stats that you can choose, variety of different damage and elements, and even some powerful endgame abilities at the end. Omnium Folio is essentially not anything that we've had before, like an item that you equip on a character.
This thing is a soft nerf on the raid content and everything else. That's what it is.
It just generates additional damage or additional power. In fact, it's just something that just runs passively on your character without you having to do really anything. It's free player power that essentially raises the difficulty floor passively when it comes to all endgame content. Let's say you got yourself a brand new character and you just got him to max level. Try to dive into some tier 11 delves and some of the other content that gives you hero truck items, but without any gear on a brand new tune. All of the bosses and enemies usually are going to deal a significant amount of damage. Well, the Folio is actually going to be there in order to just allow you to do more damage, more healing, but it also comes with other benefits. It even has defensive uses, such as cheat death-like mechanics to make it easier for you to survive various challenges, whether we talk about open world content, dev content, and even group content such as raids and dungeons. It's just additional extra power that just is there active passively that will be there to help you finish out all of these seasonal goals and unlock the rest of the rewards until Season 2 content finally launches. But with that being said, as always, I do want to thank all of you guys so much for watching and hope you guys did enjoy this update. If you did enjoy this video or found it informative, go ahead and give it a like, as I would very much appreciate it. Be sure to join our Discord community to keep up with all new big and small updates regarding Midnight as an expansion, especially for any future builds and updates. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.
Yeah, nice video overall. A lot of these I kind of already knew, but yeah, certainly there's a lot of changes here happening in this patch in 12.0.7 that are going to change the way we play going forward, whether it's the mythic rating, whether it's the solo ability of getting myth track crests. A lot of good things. I think a lot of good changes to the game, hopefully more to come. Nice video overall from Dalaran.